Something, what else I wanted to talk about, which is also very important, is polls in Latin America. Because people put a lot of credence into polls, right? And most polling companies that are like native Latin American polling companies, as in they're owned and run by people who live in the country or maybe a neighboring country where they run polls, are essentially bought and sold right-wingers 99.9% of the time. So if we look at opinion polls versus what actually happened, there's like one poll here that like got pretty close. I don't know what base 100 means. With a sample size of 100, it's basically worthless. But like most of the polls had them fairly close, right? A lot closer than it ended up being in the end. This also happened in Bolivia, last year's Bolivian election. So we can see here polls like right before the actual election in Bolivia last year had it basically neck and neck going to a second round, and then generally predicting a second round win for the right wing. 32%, 33%, 34%, 36%, 30%, even down to 23% at one point. But what actually happened? Well, Arce and the left won with 55%. Massive resounding victory, incredibly huge, as big as the victory in Chile that just happened in the first round too, which makes it more impressive. Literally 20% over what the polls said was going to happen. So if you want to know why this happens, it's because, well, native Latin American polling companies are right-wing private companies, already right-leaning private companies for hire, essentially who run polls on behalf of like either right-wing newspapers or like sometimes directly for political parties or media outlets or something like that. And they essentially they never release their methodology. It's just like they say, we polled 1,000 people. Here's the percentage. We called people with a nationally representative sample. We promise. We have no proof of this. We're not going to go into any more depth on this. Trust us. It's that simple. Trust us. Trust me, bro. It's pretty much what they do is either they try to skew the sample intentionally, or they just straight up make it up. This is pretty much a fact. Okay? There's no way that a poll could possibly be this bad with a representative sample size like 1,000 plus, possibly 2,000 or more. It's just not possible if you're actually doing it remotely in any sort of methodologically sound way. It's impossible to be off by 20%. Yeah, maybe 5% at most. 20%. No. That's not possible if the poll is even remotely honest. And why do they do that? It's because they want to manipulate people by essentially being like, look at this poll. Your side's gonna lose, basically. There's no point in going to the polls. Or, trying to say, look, right-wingers, you have a much more of a chance here than you might think. Make sure to head in and vote on election day instead of staying at home. Or to manipulate people into voting for who they want them to vote for, making it look like it's already a foregone conclusion. Because polls do sort of change the way that people vote. If your candidate's polling 15%, and it's looking like they're going to win in the first round, you might be less likely to go to the polls, for example. Or if your candidate's polling very, very poorly, you might be more likely to go to the polls. If the opposition candidate is polling poorly, you might be like, oh yeah, we have a chance. Let's go fucking get in there and vote. Stuff like that. So these companies in Latin America are just completely biased. They're bought off. They're bought and paid for. Obviously they're not going to say it, but they'll do what any fucking right-wing newspaper or political party wants them to do. They'll say what you want them to say. The only half-decent polls in Latin America are the ones that are run by foreign companies, especially non-Latin American companies. This is just an example of what I mean here. They ask a bunch of different questions. They tell you like what percentage voted for whom, what the sample size is, etc. But they don't do anything beyond that. Another excellent example of a completely absurd polling company is the polling company from Bolivia called Meganalysis. So this company, Meganalysis from Venezuela, constantly runs polls asking like completely bonkers questions like, do you support an immediate US intervention to install the legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido? And these questions, like, according to them, like they get like 95% yes answers. This one says like, a poll about foreign military intervention. According to them, in December 2019, 85% of people wanted foreign military intervention in Venezuela. And they go on to say, this is scientific proof that Venezuelans have no doubt that we need a US intervention now. And this is supposedly like a credible Venezuelan polling company. It's like they're writing like activists here, right? They're not writing like a neutral polling company or whatever. It's obvious. 85%. 85% of people want the USA to invade Venezuela. There was one that they deleted that said like todo está dicho, which means like basically everything is set. It's gone now. But they were like calling for an intervention. This is another one. Solid majority asked the National Assembly, which was Guaido's like fake assembly, to approve like an article asking for foreign military intervention. 89.5%. Let's check out their methodology for this poll. What was it like? 404 not found. Wow. Well, let's check out their website. Maybe we can nonetheless, now that they've deleted this one, maybe we can look at the methodology for some of their newer polls. This is a new one, like a study of like regional elections or something. Let's see. Log into my PayPal account.
What?
Their methodology is log into your PayPal account. Excuse me, what the fuck just happened? Is that reproducible? What the fuck? No! The link to download the complete study is a link to pay them $21 on PayPal. That's incredible! Holy shit, this is better than I thought it. I didn't plan this, I swear. I didn't plan this. Amazing. Well, up here they say methodology of their polls. Wow, it's like a thing with like stock photos and a numbered thing, but they don't actually have anything. And you know, here you can literally, it's like, look at our products and services, like you can buy polls from them, right? You can get a corporate subscription with them. But there's certainly nothing about fucking methodology in here. But you can pay them 21, just a random PayPal pop-up. Hey, give us $22. They don't actually release polls. They release like a fucking JPEG with like random numbers on it. And it's like, trust us, please. And this is like, now these guys are definitely worse than normal. But the normal isn't much better than this, okay? This is what polling companies in Latin America are. That's what they are. So when you see a poll from Latin America that is not like by an American or a European or whatever, or even a Spanish organization, you can probably assume it's been bought off. Sometimes even the foreign ones are bought off. For example, Ipsos in Peru is very often essentially bought off by the right wing. And in many countries, what they predict is just so far off from what actually ends up happening, it's ridiculous. Well, you know, the questions are so obviously bullshit, they don't actually tell you anything at all actionable about the methodology. Well, you know, it's like 90% of people definitely want military intervention right now. Let's just look at a bit more of mega-analysis. This is what I was talking about. In unquestionable truth, the majority of the people are clear about the need of foreign help. Venezuelans are forced to live in chaos, and they understand that they themselves cannot escape from their kidnapping, from their prison. And then they say here, the National Assembly, meaning Juan Guaido, must respond. This is apparently like a neutral polling company, right? Does that sound like a neutral polling company to you? This is what we're dealing with here. Like when someone tells you Juan Guaido is incredibly popular and you know, no one likes Nicolas Maduro. This is the kind of thing that they're pointing to as a source. I mean, I think I proved my point. That's enough of polls in Latin America. You guys get the idea. Like, take any polls in Latin America with a grain of salt. Generally, you should assume that they are underestimate, especially electoral polls. Like in electoral polls, you should assume that they are underestimating any remotely left candidate's real popularity or real, like, in voting intention, like the intention that people have to vote for them, by at least 5%. Yeah, and approval polls are also a joke as well. They're bought. These are small private polling companies. Most of them are run out of like a single office with 2 guys in it that just make up numbers. Or at best, you know, they call grandmas on a landline. Well, obviously going to overwhelmingly be right-wing because they're just old and they're using landlines. Polling companies gain a decent reputation through 2 things. One, being accurate overall, over a long period of time. Like, not just they get one thing wrong. You know, it's okay to get one thing wrong every now and again. What's most important is like what they predict being at least kind of reflected in reality over a long period of time. That, or they are incredibly transparent with their methodology. Like, they tell you exactly who they called, how they called them. They have some form of proof that this actually happened. You know, not just like a fucking bar graph with percentages. And not just like saying, we called 1,000 people, we promise you this was a nationally representative sample. We need to actually look at the data ourselves and see that it was a nationally representative sample. And generationally representative too. So yeah, there's my rant about polls in Latin America. I'm sure this is similar in other countries around the world too. So don't trust them. They got it wrong in Chile. They got it wrong in Bolivia. They get it wrong everywhere. And there's a reason for that. They fucking suck. They're bought and paid for bourgeoisie, you know, trying to manipulate people on behalf of other bourgeoisie. That's that simple.